Welcome to the Playbook for Youth Sports, the podcast where we go beyond the field to talk about the business side of the game. I'm your host, Jennifer Peacock. As a parent of athletes and a leader in the youth sports space, I've seen the challenges that clubs and event operators face. That is why we are sitting down with innovators and game changers that are shaping the future of youth sports. Each episode will share insights that will help your organization both grow and thrive. Scott, thank you for taking the time today to talk to us. You and I had met last year when I had the privilege of attending an IYSL event, and I wanted to bring you on today so that we can talk about IYSL specifically and your experience. So Scott Wollaston with IYSL, co-founder and the CEO of NC Fusion.
Thanks so much for the opportunity to be on this with you. I've been in the youth sports industry for over 20 years now. As you said, I've been CEO of North Carolina Fusion. Also, as you mentioned, I'm the co-founder of the Institute for Youth Sports Leaders. And ultimately, that entity was founded out of the experience that I've had, which is that many of us, or maybe even most of us in this industry that are leaders of particular sports clubs, really haven't had necessarily a formal education. Those changes from being a coach to a director to now an executive director are massive jumps and a completely different level of a different skill set needed. And I think that within our industry, there's such an opportunity to bring leaders together and help one another through those transitions and ultimately bring best practices to the industry. It's been really, really great collaborating with leaders all over North America to ultimately help make the leader better, which in turn makes the organizations better, which hopefully in turn delivers a better experience for all the people involved.
I love it. And, taking the foundation from your experience in soccer and then really looking at it from a collaborative approach of all youth sports really face the same challenges. I feel like youth sports leaders are really good at identifying talent on the field.
Mhm.
Where they're maybe not so good at identifying talent is within their own business side.
I will say that it is true that when I speak to other leaders, we all struggle with people problems. And it could be said people are problems. But the bottom line is you're right. I know you said that we're good at spotting talent on the field. I would actually argue that we're not. And the reason that we're not is that generally we don't know what we're looking for. And I think that, and even, you look at US soccer, other things, we don't really have like a true player profile that people are all looking for. And so I'll relate that back to staff and, the people that we're hiring and or developing, et cetera. I think the challenge is that a lot of people put a lot of value in a title. What I have found is that I think in our industry, we don't do a great job of identifying what are truly the roles and responsibilities that we're looking for and we need, and then trying to find the people that actually have those skill sets or perhaps have the potential to be developed in those particular areas. A lot of times we do a lot of the whole, square peg in a round hole or the opposite, whatever it might be. It's like, oh my gosh, he's available. We need this person. We need somebody here. He's better than nobody, and that's, I feel like we tend to do that. I think a big part of it is that a lot of people in this youth sports industry, this is what they've done most of their life. They don't have a ton of other outside experiences of different businesses and things. And there's certainly more and more that are getting into it. But I do think that EOS, that for those that don't know what it is, it's the entrepreneurial operating system. And ultimately, it's a whole set of tools that are going to help an organization go from creating a vision that everyone's going to go after and then getting traction on a daily basis toward that vision. We've been spending as an organization almost 3.5 years now going through the process of implementing EOS. And just being honest, it took probably a solid 2 years, a little more than 2 years before we were like, this is what it is. This is the difference it's making. And now, like, once you start going downhill with it, it's It's absolutely incredible. And you do start to, when you talk about people, you really spend the time to look at roles and responsibilities for every seat in your organization. And then you look at the people and go, are they the right fit? Meaning, do they fit all of your core values all the time? Not just some of the time, but all the time. And we say GWC, do they get it? Do they want it? And do they have the capacity to do it? And just those simple little tools, you don't need to know the whole EOS system, but just using that alone would probably help us all make better decisions about the people that we bring on our team.
So, practical question. So, if you're a club and you have a coach that you've received a few complaints from parents that the coach doesn't know how to communicate or refuses to communicate, but you know he's a really good coach. He teaches the style of play that you want. He's successful on the field, but he has a communication problem. Would you immediately identify that as that coach is in the wrong seat because he's a good coach?
I'll go back to what I said earlier about defining the roles and responsibilities. Um, I, in our organization, I would say that we recognize that the on-field technical, tactical pieces are probably about 10% of the experience that people have with their coach. I would say 90% of their experience revolves around their ability to communicate well with families, with kids, to show those families that they care a ton about the player. And that other stuff, the X's and O's, that's afterwards. They should be getting better at their craft. They should know the game better. They should be, and we're absolutely going to pour into that. But we've already established that the priority was the communication piece and the relationship side. So I would say two things to that. One, when we hire coaches now, we're hiring the people first and who they are, and then we'll coach them up on the field. If they come with an A license and they are already wonderful. That's fantastic. And we would love for all the unicorns to show up. But bottom line is that if they're not doing that, for us, they're probably not a great fit in our organization because we believe that's like core to what the experiences that people have in our organization. Now, if you're a club that I know plenty of clubs that would say, how do you find coaches that are great coaches, but also can communicate? And I would just in a funny way again, like they're kind of unicorns. Like having a really good administrative person plus great on the field is hard to find. I definitely agree. But we've found more success in terms of the ensuring that people have a wonderful experience with our staff and with our coaches. We believe in hiring the right type of person first, then the soccer coach, the second part of that.
I've seen a mismatch from a good coach that tries to communicate, but maybe their goals and aspirations are not winning every game. But you can have a team of parents that their goals and aspirations are to win every game, and they don't see the bigger picture. So sometimes the disconnect can be from the parent side.
Yeah. I would say that, that challenge is from every organization, no matter what. I mean, the fact is we're running up against or we're battling against a societal challenge there,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I don't care if you're involved in sport. I don't know many people involved in sport that would go, yeah, I don't like winning. Like winning sucks, you know? I mean, we're all kind of pre-wired to want to win. We're all kind of pre-wired to be successful. I think that there's truths in that. And I think with that, that in and of itself is not a bad thing. What I do think is a bad thing is if that is going to hurt the ultimate outcome. And so I believe that as organizations, we should be pre-framing and setting expectations about what this is and what this isn't. What can we control and what we can't control? We say all the time to our staff and to our families, we're going to communicate the controllables, but we're going to over communicate the uncontrollables. What we will promise is that your child's going to have a lot of different experiences that are going to be super intentional. We are going to use collectively to help them develop as a human being. We're going to use sport as a platform to do that. And so Is that going to stop parents from like wanting to win or thinking they should be winning? No, it's not going to stop that. But what, as a club and with our coaches and with our directors, we constantly reframe that. What are we really trying to do here? Did we have control over that? I can't control that the other team of 12-year-olds showed up looking like they all have driver's license and they're all have mustaches. I don't know why they have those genes, but they're going to win because they're bigger and stronger and faster. And we can't control that. But I'll tell you what we will control. We're going to control the way we play, and we're going to learn from this. And in about 5 years, that'll all even out, and we'll see who's developed. Unfortunately, we're super impatient people, right? We're impatient human beings, and we want to see it now. But that's not what development is. That's not what sports development is, nor is it human development. So I think it's important for us to always just drive back to the human side of it. Of yes, it's sport. Yes, we want to win. All of those things, but like drive back to the human part of it. And I think when parents can connect the dots between what even they're experiencing in their world to what their kid is experiencing, I think that that's really, really helpful. Not perfect and doesn't fix all of the challenges, but I think it's helpful.
Well, and I think you just connected the dots for me. So you really are taking the answer from communicating at the club level first, not just leaving it on the back of the coach. So you're
Oh
taking
yeah.
proactive standpoint from the organization that we are going to communicate what winning looks like, what
Yeah.
success looks like. And I think that's a huge takeaway for clubs. So then let's talk about IYSL for a second, because
Sure.
you've learned all of these lessons at NC Fusion. And then you had this concept of, okay, wait, we're not perfect, but we're figuring it out. Now, how do we expand it to touch as many people as possible? What's your goals for IYSL?
Well, I think it would be good to go back to kind of where we started. So Dave Newberry is my co-founder in IYSL, and we met at a conference that I would say it was called the Quick Goal Club Summit, and there was no secret sauce other than they got the right people in the room together to collaborate and share ideas unknowingly. That's what happened, right? And so Dave and I were a part of that in several different ways, and we realized there's definitely something there, right? There's something there around the collaborative opportunities. And the other part of that is that what we realized too is not many people kept talking about the presentations that happened. Most of the stuff you left with were from the lunch you had or the social afterwards. I was talking to this director at this club and they do this and that, right? And what we've sort of said with IYSL is that we're not the experts. We have a lot of experience. We believe that the expertise exists in all of the leaders that are doing this on a daily basis all over North America, maybe even the world. And if we could get more people collaborating and sharing those ideas or those best practices, and everyone was willing to share and be a bit vulnerable and say, I don't have all my stuff together, I'm not as good as I want to be, then we could maybe create a really great platform. And so that's sort of where IYSL was born. It was born out of an idea of being collaborative. The other piece of IYSL that I think is really important is that we feel like in youth sports, there's not a real standard, if you will. Like if you were to go, who's the model sports club? Who's the best of the best? What would you judge it on? I mean, David already spent a lot of time in this, doing the club standards project with National Soccer Coaches Association. And we put his research together with 4 years of our own collaboration on it to come up with 60 best practices of a youth sports organization. And so we came up with a simple survey that youth sports leaders can go on our website and complete this survey. It's simply a self-assessment, and then you can send it out to your stakeholders and have them fill it out. Well, now, like in the business world, we try our best to get 360 reviews and hear what our peers say and hear what our bosses say and what those that are working for us say and our customers and how do they feel. And you get this 360 review of, man, in all these areas of best practice, how are we actually doing? And then how do we stack up against other organizations? And we now have over 3,000 organizations in the past year and a half that have completed this survey, that we have a lot of data that says, hey, these are particular areas where honestly everyone is struggling. or most people struggle in this space. But occasionally we find someone or a club that, wow, like they get a lot of high marks in that particular space. What are they doing? And so you reach out to them. And then if you go to our website, you'll see best practice articles. We interview these people on what in the world are you doing in the finance space that makes everyone else very jealous, right? And then those people tell us what they're doing and they share in their club, this is how this area of best practice manifests itself on a daily basis. And the more you do this, the more you want to share with other people to help this all get better. Because none of us want to hear the narrative in the industry that like youth sports it's crazy out there. Parents are nuts. It's too expensive. There's too much travel. Isn't that kind of the narrative we all hear? When you're in it for 20 years, you don't want that to be the narrative. You want it to be positive. And so I think we have an obligation to start changing that. And I think we feel like the best way to do that is by impacting those at the top, those leaders, because we believe when the leader gets better, everyone gets better. And so that is our area of focus on best practices and creating opportunities for people to collaborate, which is what we do in a number of different platforms.
I love it. So if someone wants to learn more about IYSL, certainly they can find you online. Is it open to anyone? Is it every sport? Is it everyone? Is it different levels? What if I'm just a coach at a club? Is it executive directors only? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, great question. So we have a number of ways to really engage with us. So first of all, we always recommend that people go online and do our best practice survey. Some people, based on the position in their organization, may only have clarity into some of those areas of best practice, and that's okay. But we think that there's some lessons to be learned simply by filling it out. Because if you now have some type of assessment, something to measure against, you can improve. And throughout the best practice survey, there are so many different areas. If you are an aspiring leader, someone who does want to move up, maybe you want to be the executive director, et cetera, we have opportunities for people to engage with us either through leadership circles, which our leadership circles are groups of 6 to 8 people that meet online every 45 days to share best practices. Honestly, the most valuable piece is the commiserating with one another. It's bringing your issues to the table and people helping you solve those issues. And from that, I think that we have a lot of opportunities to connect people from circle to circle. So if we find somebody who is really aspiring to do something in particular, we're usually like, you need to meet so-and-so at this club, not for them to steal them away, but simply to pour into them a little bit with some knowledge and things like that. Those that are owners, operators, CEOs, executive directors, we have specific groups, leadership groups for them to join. We also have conferences throughout the year. So we have our Lead Plus event that's coming up in November. Then in April, we're actually going to have a dual event. We're going to have where it's basically going to be one event with 2 tracks. One track will be for people on the sporting side of the club that know they need to get some more leadership development. And those on the other track will be more of those up and coming leaders, or maybe they're a leader of a smaller organization. And the cool part about that event is we will have mentors that'll come from the Lead Plus event to be a part of that event. So there's several different ways. And I'm sure that over time, we'll have a number of other pieces to the business and the opportunity to educate. But those are the primary areas of focus right now.
I love it. Absolutely fantastic. The traction you're getting is amazing. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. I appreciate you and all of the work that you're doing to help elevate the game for children in youth sports. So thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Really appreciate it.
That's it for today's episode of the Playbook for Youth Sports. If you found today's conversation helpful, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'll be back soon with more stories and strategies to help you grow and strengthen your organization. Until next time, keep building, keep leading, and keep playing.